gathered throughout the four corners of the earth on this Shabbat day, prepared to read the word of the Most High and the law, the Torah of the Tanakh. Say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's always a great pleasure to be able to stand up and give thanks and praise to the Almighty for life and breath and strength. That is a great blessing that we don't take for granted. There's some who didn't wake up this morning. Some who woke up and couldn't get up. Some who went to sleep and they're still sleeping. And the Most High God put us to sleep and woke us up. After He woke us up, He got us up. After He got us up with His strength, we were able to even come out here, go about up and down, to and fro. So we give thanks and praise for that. We give thanks and praise for the blessing of the lesson that we have today. The lesson we have today is Toledoth. We call parashah means the lesson, or sidra means the lesson. And Toledoth means generations. It means like the genealogy. And this is really referring to the genealogy of Abraham. And you know, there's been a lot of controversy in the news lately about the seed of Abraham, Jacob, who are the true Hebrews, who are the true Jews. And they were an important part of the lesson today, especially because we're going to hear about the birth of Jacob and his older brother Esau. Jacob is the beginning of Israel, because we know Israel was born Jacob. And it's because of the power and the strength that he showed with God and with man that the Most High deemed it worthy to change his name from Jacob to Israel. Now we know there's a whole lot of doctrines floating around about these two sons, in particular about Jacob. You know, some people say that the black man, Jacob, which we say, not all black people, but we say that Jacob was a black man. And we know that some say Edom is the father of the white race. We don't say he was the father of all the white race, but we do say that he had some whiteness in him. We'll read about part of that today. There's some that I know of our beloved brothers and sisters in the U.S. who belong to the Nation of Islam under the teachings of Master Farad Muhammad, later Elijah Muhammad, and now Minister Farrakhan, who say that Jacob was one of the four scientists named Yaqub, and they have a whole other story about him that we don't find in the Quran or the Torah or the Bible, but that's what they say, and confuses people more than anything else, because if you want to propagate a doctrine about a genealogy of someone, then you should use their book. Now, I'm not saying this to be offensive to anybody, but I am saying it to be clear to everybody. If you want to propagate that Jacob was a scientist, and he was one of the mad scientists that crafted the white man, and he came from the lost tribe of Shabazz, and that he is one of those who created the white race, then you should be reading out of your own book, not the Torah and not the Quran, because neither the Torah nor the Quran states that. And even though we love the strength of the Nation of Islam, standing up as black men, and standing as black nationalists, and talking about the white man, we don't like no falsehood mixed up in the enthusiasm of standing up, just being strong and being black. So I say that to him or them, like we say to the Christians, who've made up their own doctrine that don't line up with this book. So if you want to say that you're a Muslim, you should line up with the Quran. If you say that you are a Christian or a Hebrew, you should line up with the Torah or the Bible. But don't propagate your own doctrine and then use somebody else's script conveniently when it's convenient, and then you veer when it's also convenient. Well, the truth is not loose like that. The truth is consistent. And the truth is straightforward. And so if we say we believe in something, then you believe in it. If you say you believe in the Torah, then you should believe in it. If you say you believe in the Bible, you should believe in it. If you say you believe in the Quran, you should believe in it. But if you come up with some other stories, then write us a book and give us a testament that we can study. We can also prove ourselves good workmen with that. But don't give us nothing that we got to hallucinate to find the reference for it. And we got to imagine and use our imagination and stretch it before we can validate it. And so we say that because people are trying to find the truth today. Nobody wants to be lied to today. We've been lied to enough. We got all these proverbs and bywords, people saying we this, people saying we that, people saying we the other. Then let us know when you want to come along and show us the light. Don't hand us a candle and say that it's the light. It's similar to a light. When you're in darkness, you're holding a candle, you welcome that because it takes you out of some of the darkness. But we can't start to convince people that the candle is the sun and the candle is the light. It's a light. So in that respect, I have to say that because as I say, when you have people arguing over are we the real Jews, are we really Hebrews, and then some enlightened leaders or those leaders who are articulate, they get up and they come halfway to the truth and they back up, then they go around the corner, then they climb through a window, then they come to the back door, then they open the door, walk out, then they come back into the door, and they want you to act like, they came through the door straight. So it's more confusion than anything else. So in that respect, if we say that we don't claim that Abraham is the oldest of the nations. We don't say that Abraham is the beginning of nations. We don't say that Abraham was the first one to find out that there's one God in the universe. But the Bible don't say that. These are what doctrines say. And people say Abraham introduced monotheism in the world. The Bible don't say that. But what it does say is that Abraham was faithful. And because of his faithfulness, he became a friend of God. And that's what the Bible says. And that's what we stand on. But we don't come up and support any of these stretches and any of these exaggerations, no matter whose mouth it's coming from. So in that respect, I just want to say that as a prelude, so that these people don't get us all mixed up and become more confused than what they really are. So this sidra is called Toledoth, and it is found in the book of Bereshit, commonly known as the book of Genesis. And the lesson is found in the 19th verse of the 25th chapter. 25th chapter of the book of Genesis, verse 19. Now I'm going to read the first 3 verses in Hebrew as they have become our adopted custom, and that's mainly because we read it all in Hebrew, nobody will understand it, probably but myself, and that doesn't come to any fruit to anybody. So we want to just pay tribute to the fact that the original language was written in Hebrew, and then we're going to continue in English, but we're going to first rise so we can say the blessing of the Torah, that we might get the blessing of a correct understanding and interpretation of the Torah. Baruch et Yehovah Hamavada, Baruch Yehovah Hamavada, Le'olam Wa'ed, Baruch Atah Yehovah Eloheinu Melech Ha'olam, Asher B'kabanu Mikol, Amin V'nathananu et Torotho, Baruch Atah Yehovah Nothein HaTorah. Blessed be Yehovah, who is to be blessed. Blessed be Yehovah, who is to be blessed, forever and evermore. Blessed art thou, O Yehovah, our God, King of the universe, who has selected us from all people and has given us thy law. Blessed art thou, O Yehovah, giver of law. Amen. Please be seated. So the beginning of the verse 19 and chapter 25 of the book of Bereshit, commonly known as Genesis, reads as thus in the Hebrew. Wa'ele Toledoth Yitzchak ben Abraham, Abraham Ohod Lihi et Yitzchak, Liyehi Yitzchak ben Abraham, Shena Bekahakto et Rivka, Bahat Betuel Arami, Mihi Padan Aram, Akho Levan Arami, Lo Leisha Weyata Yitzchak La Yehoah Leno Kahak Istoki Ahakaharo Hi Ya'ar Ahatoholo Yehoah Wetate Letat Letaha Rihika Isto. Hallelujah. It says, and these are the offspring, the generations of Isaac, the son of Abraham. Abraham begot Isaac. So there are many who say that the reason why they clarify this twice, because if they say these are the generations of Isaac, the son of Abraham, what is the use of repeating Abraham begot Isaac? It's because they say in that day, it was rumored, we live in a contemporary time period, it's different when you read, when you live time through history. When you're in a time, you will know all the things that are being spoken at that time, of that time, from that time. But when that time passes, and you have to live through that time through historical lenses, oftentimes it has been sanitized, and it's been crystallized, and it's been made up to date, by confirmation of truth. And what I'm alluding to here is that there were many that were spreading rumors in that day that Isaac was not the son of Abraham, that he was the son of Abimelech, because Abraham had been with Sarah all these years. And it wasn't until Abraham and Sarah had visited Abimelech that all of a sudden Sarah bore and had a son. So we see that it is being spoken here twice in the first verse to say that the offspring of Isaac, the son of Abraham, and Abraham begot Isaac, meaning that Isaac was the son of Abraham without any doubt and without any controversy, to stop the tongues and the naysayers at that time. It said, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah. Now, Rebekah is how they say it in English, but in the Hebrew, we say it with two phonetic sounds, Rivka. Rivka is how we say Rebekah in Hebrew. So Rivka, he took Rivka, daughter of Bethuel, the Arami, from Padan Aram, sister of Laban, the Arami, as a wife for himself. So in fact, what this means is he took his cousin. He married his own cousin, which was not forbidden. Sister, brother is forbidden. Aunties, uncles, all that is forbidden. But cousins were not forbidden by the Hebraic law. So Rivka was actually the daughter of Isaac's mother's brother, which made them cousins. So he took his cousin to wife. It says, Isaac entreated Yehoah opposite his wife, because she was barren. And Yehoah allowed himself to be entreated by him, and his wife Rebekah conceived. So what it means is that, all said and done, Rivka, or Rebekah, was barren. She couldn't have children. And when she couldn't have children, almost like the same with Sarah, both she and Isaac entreated of the Lord, meaning they went to go search out the blessing of God. They went to go seek for God's blessing and intervention, that she might be able to conceive and bear a child. So that word entreated, it has many connotations to it. It meant they went for extra spiritual help to be able to have Rebekah conceive and become pregnant. And it says, and the Most High allowed himself to be entreated by him, and his wife Rebekah conceived. Now I want to change my Bible so we can read more consistent with God. But this, as I always say, I have a tendency to read another way. It's straight from the Hebrew, but I want to read from the language that you're consistent with, so we stay on the same page. When I make a reference, I don't want the reference to be only me reading it. I want us to have the same word. I use the term like entreated. It says, I'll read from 21. And Isaac entreated Jehovah for his wife, because she was barren. And Jehovah was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. And the children struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of Jehovah. So it meant that she went back. We first hear that both of them inquired or entreated the Lord to find out why she was not able to conceive. Then she was able to conceive. And when she was able to conceive, when she asked around all the other women, and she was going through some extra pain and problems and difficulties, when she asked the other women, did you go through this when you were pregnant? Did you go through this when you were pregnant? Did you feel this way? They would say, no, I didn't go through that. No, I didn't feel that. So she said, let me go back and entreat and find out from God what is going on with me. What is happening with me inside my womb? Is this normal that you would go through this while you're pregnant? And none of the people she talked to gave her a reference to say that it was normal. And the Most High answered her and said clearly to her, it says, and the children struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of Jehovah. And Jehovah said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. Now this is why a lot of theologians, especially our theologians, they say this was the beginning of the white man. That is not so, as I said from the beginning. That is not the beginning of the white man. But because our people interpreted 2 kinds of people are in thy womb. 2 completely different people are together in thy womb. Although it's the same father and the same mother, they will not come out with the same nature. And although color did have something to do with the separation, and although Esau will come out and be like one of the white races, it was not the origin of the white man alone. So this is why we must consider this to be a very important scripture, especially with the argument going on right now about who was the Jew, who was Jacob, who was Israel, is all coming out in terms of the origin is coming out of the lesson today. So we see as it is. It says, one shall be stronger than the other, and the elder shall serve the younger. And when her day to deliver was fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red, all over like a hairy garment. And they called his name Esau, which we always say Esau. And the other, and after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bore them. And the boys grew. And Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field. And Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents. So you see, we say that Esau's nature was described after only one other man in the scripture, and that was Nimrod. Nimrod was said to be a mighty hunter before God. And it said that Esau was a cunning hunter of man, and a man of the field, like the woods. But Jacob was a plain man, Not only plain in terms of simple, but plain in terms that he wasn't a hairy man. You know, he didn't have hair all over him. He was a smooth man, but also smooth in character. Some people describe that to his hurt. They want to say Jacob was a slickster, Jacob was a cool man, Jacob was a supplanter. Well, they stretch it because of the relationship that he had with his brother in terms of fooling his brother out of his birthright and then later on fooling his brother out of his blessing. And because of that, they stretch it to say that Jacob was a trickster, Jacob was a schemer. Well, that's because many people see and are trying to describe Jacob as a European Jew. And they are making attributes of the European Jew to make it stick to Jacob as if they're one and the same. But we're here to contend that they're not the same. And Jacob was not a slickster like that. Jacob was no more cunning than the black man is today when he has to deal with someone who's always trying to oppress him. So when the black man today, always being oppressed by Europeans and always being oppressed by the white man and always perpetually being kept under his foot, we have to use cunning and wisdom and all kinds of other means to be able to come from under that yoke and to be able to make some progress ourselves. So that is an attribute of Jacob and who it is that we are. And that's why I say we don't want to confuse our people. Out of one side of your mouth, you say we're Jacob, we're smooth, we're cunning. Another side of your mouth, you say Jacob was a trickster, and Jacob was a con artist, and Jacob was a mad scientist. We can't mix all that up and expect that our people are going to be clear. When we mix it up, they're mixed up, and they're confused. So we got to talk straight about that, since this is a time of talking straight. It says, and it came to pass, all right, it says, verse 27, and the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents. This is another attribute. You know, our forefathers, although there's always debates going on, day and night, night and day, week to week, month to month, year to year, there's always a debate about how to match the people of antiquity, the ancient people of the Bible by their names, to modern people today. That's an important exercise because they've changed the names up today, therefore it's hard to find out the relevance of who these people are. It's like you don't see Africa in this Bible by a word. You don't see Europe in this Bible by a word. A lot of the names that we call out today to identify people, to identify geographical locations, you don't see it in the book. So that's why it's hard sometimes to identify who's being talked about here. When we say that this Bible is about Africa and people of African descent, especially the Old Testament, people will go, they'll say, okay, all right, they want to believe it. So they're like being kind, say, okay, nice. But in the back of their mind, they're saying, but I don't see Africa in there. Where's Africa at? So we have to say, oh, but you know, when you say Kush, or you say Ethiopia, that's Africa. Or when you say Egypt, that's Africa. But they're thinking today, but I see Arabs in there. I see people like white people in Egypt today too. So how can you say it's that way? Say, oh, but in history, these are the people who came down through history, through the years, and began to occupy that land. Just like when people see many of us who they call, or we call ourselves African Americans, they see us today, they see African American. Why? What is that? What kind of name is that? Well, because I think you came from Africa, but you're born in America, so you talk in English. It's like a white man's language. So you're African American. You say you're African American, but that's not a name you're gonna find in the Bible. You're not gonna find that people there, but you're not gonna find American in the Bible because a new name is not even 500 years old. America. So we have to try to skillfully find out through careful study. When we hear these names, who are these people today? And that is the great debate going on right now. Because when you have one great entertainer and one great sportsman, both of them you can say in entertainment, one through music and one through sports. They make a mention of something. I'm not anti-Semitic because I am Semitic. People say, what is Semitic? I'm not anti-Jewish because I am a Jew. And what is a Jew? But that also is not mentioned in the Old Testament. You only see the Jew mentioned in one book out of the whole Old Testament, and that's the book of Esther. And the book of Esther never mentions the name of God one time. The only time you see Jews is in the New Testament. And there's no such thing as a Jewish nation. You see the nation of Israel, the children of Israel. There's a nation of Hebrew, but no such thing as a Jewish nation, as the world is being made to talk about today. So they got everybody confused. So here we find it that the word Egypt is mentioned over 580 times in the Bible. 580 times the word Egypt is mentioned in there, as reference to a place that is relevant to the Bible and the people. Ethiopia is mentioned in the Bible, well over maybe 40, 50 times. The land of Black Put, as we understand it today. Libya is mentioned in the Bible. Canaan land is Africa. Israel took over Canaan land. Canaan was one of the sons of Ham, Kemet. So you don't find, the only place you find, if you see the word Ashkenaz, if you look and Google it, if you look it up in the dictionary, it means Germany. Ashkenaz means Germany. That's what the European Jews call themselves, Ashkenaz Jews, or German Jews. You know how many times it's mentioned in the Bible? Once. Once. In Genesis 10, when they're dividing up the European nations. So how is it that a people coming from Europe can say that they're Israel, and nobody asks a question, but people of melanin and color coming up out of Africa say they're Israel, and everybody say how? It don't make sense. I mean, somewhere we've been hoodwinked and fooled and confused. So in that respect, there is the need, when we're going through chapters and verses like this, to be very clear. Now it said that Esau was red. And that meant that he was different than most of the people being born in that time. Because most of the people being born at that time were black. And by characteristic, it said he was a cunning hunter. Now listen to this description very well. Cunning hunter also meant that he knew how to capture the minds of men. He knew how to get their attention. He knew how to capture the minds of men and to persuade them and to get them to follow him. Now, you see the media today, it's a master of capturing the minds of men. That's what the media is used for, to capture our minds in order to be able to sell us a product, or to sell us information, to sell us a truth, or to sell us a lie. And you see there are some who are very skillful in that, and some who are less skillful in that. But what it means that Esau was a cunning hunter, meaning he knew how to convince men and capture the minds of men. Now, you see all of the billions of dollars that are earned by our artists and by our athletes in America and in Europe. Who makes the most money off of this talent? Is it the talented themselves?
No. Nope.
It's the agents. And how do the agents make the money? Because they know how to capture a market. They know how to create a market. They know how to create a market for your talent and for your wealth and for your work. And they turn your talent into money by capturing the minds of a market. Now, what's happened with the latest controversy that we see in the world going on with this one athlete and this one entertainer is that the moment they have violated a people, what has happened? The same market that they have captured, they turn the same market against these individuals. Which proves that they got control of the market. Which they have control of the capturing of the minds of men. Because no matter what you say, with the truth of what you're saying, it seems that they got the minds of the people captured such that the truth that you're speaking don't matter. So they got the minds of people caged up. And so even though you're speaking the exact truth, nobody can hear you because the minds have already been captured. So we got to put it in proper context. So in that respect, we are hearing here attributes. When it says that Esau was a cunning hunter and Jacob was a smooth man, now who's smooth and who's cooler than the black man?
Nobody. I'm sorry.
The way we glide looks like we're sliding. That's how they invent the word swagger. Just with such grace. I mean, who is cooler than the grace of a black woman when she's walking?
No.
Whether it's the black man or the black woman, who it is that we are, when you look at these attributes, you see our signatures spell out exactly who it is that we are. So that's why I'm taking time to say, look at this well, hear it well, read it well, and understand it weller. It says, and Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of his venison, but Rebekah loved Jacob. So now you see, it said Isaac, being a man, loved a man's man. Because Esau was a hunter, he'd go hunt, bring in some venison, some food, cook it up, stew it up, taste this, sit down, I made something nice today. So Isaac loved Esau. Plus, in Isaac's mind, it was his firstborn. But it said, but Rebekah, the mother, loved Jacob. Now you got to remember how they come into being. In the beginning, they both inquired of God that Rebekah might be pregnant. But it said Rebekah went back again to inquire of God again, what's going on? And God told Rebekah, you got two nations in thy womb, two manner of people in thy womb. And God told Rebekah that the elder shall serve the younger, so Rebekah could put her eyes on the sons and knew who to watch for the blessing of God to come through. So that meant that Rebekah was informed, even more than Isaac, about these two sons and who to watch. And Rebekah heard, it said number 3. Now therefore, again 2. No, it's not good.
Going,
jumping over.
You're jumping over. I think you should be at 30. And Esau
okay.
said to Jacob.
So it says
29. 29.
No, I didn't get that far.
Yes, you did.
26?
29.
Or 25.
Yeah, you just talked about the love of Esau.
Okay, 25. I turned all the way to chapter 27. When his man keep blowing my pages. Anyway, it says, and Jacob sowed pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. And Jacob said, sell me this day thy birthright. And Esau said, behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do to me? And Jacob said, swear to me this day. And he swore unto him, and he sold his birthright to Jacob. So he sold the birthright because he didn't value the birthright. Yes, he was at the point of death, which had to mean that he didn't value it, and he didn't believe in it. But because Jacob had been tutored, not because he was just a slickster, not because he was just a con artist, but Jacob had been tutored by his mother the right of the birthright, the power of the birthright, the importance of the birthright. That's why he knew exactly what to bargain for. He could have bargained with silver or with gold or with some other material thing. Okay, you have to buy this. Or when I spend money for this, you have to pay me for this. But he said, give me your birthright. He knew exactly what to ask for. Now, some might say, you know, this seems trivial to me. I mean, he's that hungry now. We all laugh and say, this is where red came from. Because he was doing up some beans, and he said some red porridge or pottage of beans, and that's the beginning of red. But Esau sold his birthright for some red. so they realized that in some of the other books they teach us that Esau had just come from a skirmish, and Esau had actually just slayed Nimrod,
Right.
and that he'd gotten wounded, and that he was at the point to die. That's why I'm at the point of death, and I need some of your porridge to restore my life, to restore my soul. And that's why he came and said he's at a point to die. That's the story behind it. Otherwise, it doesn't make good sense. How he just came out and said, I'm ready to die. I mean, you say you're hungry, man. I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I'm ready to die of thirst. But he was hungry because he was also wounded, having come from a battle. And that was the importance of the birthright. And Jacob knew that he had him, and turns at a point that he'd be willing to do anything. It says, and Jacob says, swear to me this day. And he swore unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and porridge of lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. So then he went to curse. Don't mean nothing anyway. After he saw it, he tried to make a little of it. Make like that birthright don't mean nothing. I'm my own man. What I'm going to do, I'm going to do on my own. I'm going to make my own money. I don't need my father's blessing to be blessed. So he started to make light of it, and not really mind it. And there was a famine in the land, besides the first famine, that was in the days of Abraham. And Isaac went unto Abimelech, king of the Philistines, unto Gerar. And Jehovah appeared unto him, and said, Go not down into Egypt. Dwell in the land which I shall tell thee of. So you see, Isaac was the only patriarch that never went into Egypt. All the other patriarchs went into Egypt. Abraham was in Egypt. Jacob was in Egypt. All the 12 sons of Jacob were in Egypt. But Isaac was the only one that God said, you stay put. I want you to stay in the land of Canaan, but that's going to be the land of your inheritance. I'm going to give you that land. So I want you to stay here and familiarize yourself with the land. And that's why he went to Abimelech and didn't go to Pharaoh. He said, sojourn in this land, and I will be with thee, and I will bless thee. For unto thee and unto thy seed I will give all these countries, and I will perform the oath which I swore unto Abraham thy father, and I will make thy seed to multiply as the stars of heaven. I will give unto thy seed all these countries, and in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. Because that Abraham obeyed my voice, and kept my charge, and my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. And Isaac dwelt in Gerar. And the men of the place asked him of his wife. And he said, She is my sister. For he feared to say, She is my wife. Least, said he, the men of the place should kill me for Rebekah, because she was beautiful to look upon. And it came to pass, when he had been there a long time, that Abimelech, the king of the Philistines, looked out at a window, and saw, and behold, Isaac was sporting with Rebekah his wife. And Abimelech called Isaac, and said, Behold, of a surety she is thy wife. And how sayest thou, She is my sister? And Isaac said unto him, Because I said, Lest I die for her. And Abimelech said, What is this thou hast done unto us? One of the people might lightly have lain with her, with thy wife, and thou shouldst have brought guiltiness upon us. And Abimelech charged all his men, saying, He that toucheth this man or his wife shall surely be put to death. Then Isaac sold it. So you see here is another symbol that it is not the Hebrews who brought the knowledge of God to the people in the area. It was the Hebrews whom God made a covenant with. The people knew God. That's why he rebuked Isaac and told him that we don't do that here. You told us that this woman was your sister. Maybe one of us would have took her to lay with her. That would have made us transgress. And we don't do that in this land, because that will bring a curse upon us. So it means that they, unlike what the European Jews like to say, that the people had no culture, they had no law, and that the Jews were pure. Although we're not talking about Jews, that's the way they say the narrative. Like I said, truth must remain the truth, and lie must remain the lie. That they did have a standard of living here, and they did understand God here, and they did have a moral structure here. And so in that regards, they had to go on. They had to rebuke actually Isaac and let him know we don't do that here. So then Abimelech charged all his men not to touch Sarah. It says, then Isaac sowed in that land and received in the same year 100-fold, and Jehovah blessed him. And the man waxed great and went forward and grew until he became very great. For he had possession of flocks and possession of herds and great store of servants, and the Philistines envied him. For all the wells which his father's servant had digged in the days of Abraham his father, the Philistines had stopped them and filled them with earth. So you see in the old covenant, when Abraham died, they claimed that the covenants they Abel and died too. So they covered up all the wells and the holes there. Now Isaac will have to come back and renegotiate and have them redug up again. And Abimelech said unto Isaac, go from us, for thou art much mightier than we. And Isaac departed thence, and pitched his tent in the valley of Gerar, and dwelt there. And Isaac digged again the wells of water, which they had digged in the days of Abraham his father. For the Philistines had stopped them after the death of Abraham. And he called their names after the names by which his father had called them. And Isaac's servants digged in the valley, and found there a well of springing water, meaning living waters. You know, there are places in the earth that have living waters. They have them in the land of Israel. They have the hot springs of Tiberias, and the springs come out hot, and they say that they're medicinal. If you bathe in it, you're healed. If you have conditions, you're healed. And so they said they had springs of water. All the wells had water. That's why they're called wells. But this was a special well in terms of it had virtue with it, and the waters were sacred. And the herdmen of Gerar did strive with Isaac's herdmen, saying, the water is ours. And he called the name of the place Esek, because they strove with him. That means to struggle, to strive. They digged another well and strove for that also, and called the name Sitnah. So that is called hatred. And he removed them from thence, and digged another well, and for that they strove not. And he called the name of it Rehoboth. So Rehoboth means now there's room for us. You made room for us. And he said, for now Jehovah hath made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land. And he went up from thence to Beersheba, and Jehovah appeared unto him the same night, and said, Ani Elohim Abraham Abika. He said, I am the God of Abraham your father. Fear not, for I am with thee, and will bless thee, and multiply thy seed for my servant Abraham's sake. And he built an altar there, and called upon the name of Jehovah, and pitched his tent there, and there Isaac's servants digged a well. So he said he built an altar. Here today he said he built a shrine at that spot, at that site, where he saw God, and where the fear of God came upon him. When he had a visitation and learned of God for himself. You know, I always make mention when we get to the scripture, when you're growing up, your parents take you to church, take you to temple, take you to synagogue. Your parents tell you that there's a God. Your parents tell you to pray to God. Your parents tell you to have faith. But there comes a time in your life where you got to be introduced to God yourself. You got to know God for yourself. You gotta have your own godly experience, that you're not believing in God for your parents' sake, but you believe in God for your sake. And now you know God. That was the experience that Isaac had. Now he's had an experience of his own, of the Most High. And Abimelech went to him in Gerar, and Ahuzah, one of his friends, and Phicol, the chief captain of his army. And Isaac said unto them, wherefore come ye to me, seeing ye hate me, and have sent me away from you? And they said, we saw certainly that Jehovah was with thee. And we said, lest there be now an oath, let there be now an oath between us, even between us and you. And let us make a covenant with you. that thou wilt do us no hurt, as we have not touched you, and as we have done unto you nothing but good, and have sent you away in peace. And you are now the blessed of Jehovah. And he made them a feast, and they did eat and drink. And they rose up quickly in the morning, and swore one to another. And Isaac sent them away, and they departed from him in peace. And it came to pass the same day that Isaac's servants came, and told him concerning the well which they had dig, and said unto him, We have found water. And he called the name Sheba. Therefore the name of the city is called Beersheba unto this day. And Esau was 40 years old when he took to wife Judith, the daughter of Beeri the Hittite, and Basemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, which were a grieve unto of the mind of Isaac and to Rebekah. Hallelujah. So you see what happened was Esau, still not listening to his father, not listening to his mother, still knowing he stole his birthright, he went and married 2 Canaanites, which his grandfather and his father told him not to do because of the covenant. And because the covenant had to be fulfilled through the seed of Abraham, they were told not to go into Canaan because their great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather, Noah, had prophesied against them. And because Noah had prophesied against Canaan and cursed Canaan, he did not want Israel's seed, which is not Israel, Abraham's seed, to mix up with Canaan. But Esau didn't listen. And he went and married 2 Canaanites. And that pissed off, excuse the expression, got very angry. His father and mother, being Isaac and Rebekah. So with that, you'll see this configuration coming up to rectify that. So chapter 27. And it came to pass that when Isaac was old, and his eyes were dim, so that he could not see, he called Isaac his oldest son, and said unto him, My son. And he said unto him, Behold, here am I. He said, Hineni. And he said, Behold now, I am old, and I know not the day of my death. Now therefore take, I pray thee, thy weapon, thy quiver and thy bow, and go out to the field, and take me some venison. Now venison, for the sake of some of you not familiar with the Old English, venison is antelope or deer meat. And they used to make a nice stew out of the antelope or deer meat. That's what venison is. In the U.S. they say deer meat, but here we say antelope. It's the same family, although they're different, but it's the same family. And make me some savory meat, such as I love, and bring it to me, that I may eat, that my soul may bless thee before I die. And Rebekah heard when Isaac spake to Esau her son. And Isaac went to the field to hunt for venison, and to bring it. And Rebekah spake unto Jacob her son, saying, Behold, I heard thy father spoke unto Esau thy brother, saying, Bring me venison, and make me savory meat, that I may eat, and bless thee before Jehovah, before my death. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice. You hear this? Obey my voice. Listen to me. Because he's getting ready to tell him something to trick the father. This is why I again say, not Jacob who's the deceiver like that. He's listening to his mother. And the mother is giving him a way to secure his blessing. So she said, she used the term obey. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice, according to that which I will command you. She didn't say tell you. She said, according to what I will command you. Go now to the flock, and fetch me from thence 2 good kids of the goats, and I will make them savory meat for thy father, such as he loved. Now, Isaac had required bushmeat. You know, why do I say bushmeat? Because he had to go hunt it and catch it fresh. And that's what they would call bushmeat. But his mother, Rebekah, said, go to the flock and get me a goat from the herd That's a domestic meat, already there tamed. But with her culinary skills, she's going to make the sauce and the food so savory to the spices, he's not going to be able to tell the difference between the meat. She's going to make it taste like a good stew, a good meat. It says, and thou shalt bring it to thy father, that he may eat, and that he may bless thee before his death. And Jacob said to Rebekah, his mother, behold, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. My father, suppose he feel me, and I seem to him as a deceiver, and I shall bring a curse upon me, and not a blessing. So you see, Jacob in his heart is not no trickster, because he's concerned about being perceived as one. He said, if I do this kind of thing, my father might think that I'm a deceiver, or I'm a trickster. And I don't want that, I'll bring a curse upon myself. It said, and his mother said unto him, upon me be your curse, my son. Only obey my voice, and go fetch me them. He said, don't worry about that. If your father try to bring a curse upon you, let the curse be on me. You just listen to what I'm telling you to do. And he went, and he fetched and brought them to his mother. And his mother made savory meat, such as his father loved. And Rebekah took goodly raiment of her eldest son Isaac. So she put Esau's clothing on Jacob, which were with her in the house, and put them upon Jacob, her younger son. And she put the skins of the kids of the goats upon his hands, so he had to be real hairy, and upon the smooth of his neck. Now you see, a European man, a white man, their hair is like goat. But the black man's hair is like wool, lamb's wool. That's why they decided to describe the Son of Man like hair, like lamb's wool. So the wool is thicker, like a black man's hair. But the goat has a straighter hair than the sheep. So you recognize they put the goat hair on Esau to show you what kind of hair, how kind of hairy he was. It says, and she gave the savory meat and the bread which she had prepared into the hand of her son Jacob. And he came unto his father and said, my father, and he said, Hineni, here am I. You see, the words are very skillful. He said, here am I. Who art thou, my son? And Jacob said unto his father, I am Esau thy firstborn. I have done according as thou badest me. Arise, I pray thee, sit and eat of my venison, that thy soul may bless me. And Isaac said unto his son, how is it that thou hast found it so quickly, my son? And he said, because the Lord thy God brought it unto me. So you see, this is how Jacob answers. You're going to see the difference when Esau comes in. He said, because God has delivered me the meat in my hand quickly today. That's why I was able to catch it, kill it, prepare it, and present it to you. Because God delivered it into my hand. Remember that. And Isaac said unto Jacob, come near, I pray thee, that I may feel thee, my son, whether thou be my very son Isaac or not. So it seems that he suspected something. He suspected that this is not Esau, his son. He suspected that something doesn't feel right because he can't see well. And Jacob went near unto Isaac, his father, and he felt him and said, the voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. Now, he's saying that correct, but we'll correct that even further as we go down the line. And he discerned him not, because his hands were hairy, as his brother Esau's hand. So he blessed him. And he said, art thou my very son Esau? And he said, Ani, I am. But he didn't say, I am Esau. He said, Ani, I am. I am that I am. And he said, bring it near to me, and I will eat of my son's venison, that my soul may bless thee. And he brought it near to him, and he did eat. And he brought him wine, and he drank. And his father Isaac said unto him, come near now, and kiss me, my son. And he came near and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of his raiment, and blessed him, and said, see, the smell of my son is as the smell of a field, which Jehovah hath blessed. Therefore Elohim give thee of the dew of heaven, and the fatness of the earth, and plenty of corn and wine. And let people serve thee, and nations bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Cursed be every one that curseth thee, and blessed be he that blesseth thee. And it came to, so you see the blessing? All the blessings that is to make a man's life rich. He didn't say may you go to heaven. He blessed them with all the blessings that a man can enjoy in this life. And it came to pass, as soon as Isaac had made an end of blessing Jacob, and Jacob was yet scarce gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from hunting. And he also had made savory meat, and brought it unto his father, and said unto his father, let my father arise, and eat of his son's venison, that thy soul may bless me. And Isaac his father said unto him, who art thou? And he said, I am thy son, thy firstborn Esau. You see how he answered thoroughly. And Isaac trembled very exceedingly, and said, who? Where is he that hath taken venison, and brought it me, and I have eaten of all before thou camest, and have blessed him, yea, and he shall be blessed. So you see, a man's word was his word. And once a word went out and you said something, that stuck. That's why he couldn't take the blessing back, because he had blessed him. He said, this man, I blessed him, and I really blessed him. So you're in trouble. I ain't got no blessing left for you. It said, and Isaac, his father, said unto him, who art thou? And he said, I am thy son, thy firstborn Esau. And Isaac trembled very exceedingly, and said, who? Where is he that hath taken venison, brought it me, and hath eaten of all before thou camest, and hath blessed him, yea, and he shall be blessed. And when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with a great and exceedingly bitter cry, and said unto his father, bless me, even me also, my father. And he said, thy brother came with subtlety, and have taken away thy blessing. And he said, is not he rightly named Yaakov? For he hath supplanted me these 2 times. And he took away my birthright, and behold, now he hath taken away my blessing. But he should have known the blessing goes with the birthright. And he said, hast thou not reserved a blessing for me? And Isaac answered and said unto Esau, behold, I have made him your Lord, and all his brethren have I given to him the servants. And with corn and wine have I sustained him. And what shall I do now unto you, my son? And Isaac said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac, his father, answered and said unto him, behold, your dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. So he did give him that blessing, and he caused that blessing to be with him, that he would ride upon the high places of the earth and enjoy the fatness of the earth. And that's what we see Esau today, because our forefathers taught us that the European Jew, the original stock of what made up the European Jew, came from Edom, from Esau. And they enjoy that. And so, in that respect, that was their blessing. But what I meant earlier to explain, that when Isaac said to Jacob, your voice is the voice of Esau, but your skin and your hands are the hands of, your voice is the voice of Jacob or some other stranger, but your hands are the hands of Esau. And what that meant was Esau never praised God. When Jacob said, the Most High God has delivered the prey into my hands quickly, that's why they would prepare the food. He knew that wasn't the language of Esau. Esau don't talk like that. It's Jacob that talks like that. So even to this day, the people who call themselves Jews, when they win a battle, when something happens, they say, oh, then, we won by our might, or by our strength, or by our intelligence. But it's the black man who always say, oh, I give thanks to God and to my mother. And I want to say, first of all, to God and to my mother. They never remember the father. But they're always saying to the Most High and to their mother, they're giving thanks and they're giving praise. But that's the voice of Jacob. That's not the voice of Esau. And that's one of our trademarks. It says, and Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. And these words, that's premeditated murder, is right. And these words of Esau, her eldest son, were told to Rebekah. She sent and called Jacob, her younger son, and said unto him, behold, thy brother Esau, as touching thee, doeth comfort himself, proposing to kill you. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice, and arise, flee thou to Laban, my brother, to Haran, and tarry with him a few days. Now you say a few days, turn into 20 years. Tarry with him a few days, until thy brother's fury turn away, until thy brother's anger turn away from thee, and he forget that which thou hast done to him. Then I will send and fetch thee from thence. Why should I be deprived also of you, both in one day? And Rivkah said unto Isaac, I am weary of my life. So now she's going back to the husband to convince the husband to give a blessing to Jacob to go away. So he said, I am weary of my life, because the daughters of Keth, if Jacob take a wife of the daughters of Keth, such as these, which are of the daughters of the land, what good shall my life do me? So you see how important marriage was in terms of the proper mate. She used that to soften up Isaac's heart, to get the blessing for Jacob to leave. If he stays here, he's going to end up marrying one of these daughters or one of these women. So you should give me permission to let him go to my brother's house so he can take a proper wife. If he doesn't end up with the proper wife, end up with the wrong wife, then all our life is going to be in vain. Because all that we work for is going to be for nothing. So today, you see, we have a thing where children, they choose their own wives, their own husbands, without no assistance from the family. Just because you like, they look this way, that way, or the other. Don't know anything about life, but that is what your choice is. But here, they were building nations. They were building wealth. They were building a future. So all those things made a difference in the choices that are made. We even have parents who surrender today and say, well, I don't put my hand in it. It wasn't my choice, it was their choice. But we surrender that power because we don't know how to build a future. We don't know how to build a nation. We don't know how to build generations and build on strength. And we surrender that right. But that wasn't the way it used to be. And you see those of substance and those families are real. They would never allow that. They know exactly. That's why you meet a family. You don't meet a family because you're just meeting them so they can treat you to a drink or treat you to some smooth food. You meet so you can study the pedigree of what you're building together and what you're making together. That's why the importance of all these patriarchs, the importance of how do they choose a wife for all their sons. Otherwise, everything that you build will go down the drain. It says, 28, and Isaac called Jacob and blessed him. Now this time, he's blessing him with the knowledge that he's blessing Jacob, not with the deception that he thinks is Esau. He's giving him the real blessing from his real heart, from his real hand, that he's blessing Jacob. And he charged him and said unto him, thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Padan Aram, to the house of Bethuel thy mother's father, and take thee a wife from there, of the daughters of Laban thy mother's brother. And and Elohim El Shaddai, God Almighty, bless thee, and make thee fruitful, and multiply thee, that thou mayest be a multitude of people, and give thee the blessings of Abraham to thee, and to thy seed with thee, that thou mayest inherit the land wherein thou art a stranger, which Elohim gave unto Abraham. So you see, blessing, the particular words that he used, it says in verse 4, and give thee the blessing of Abraham to thee and to thy seed with thee. So it means the seed even that you carry in you. May the blessing of Abraham not only be to you, but also to your seed that you have with you. And Isaac sent Jacob away. And he went to Padan Aram unto Laban, son of Bethuel, the Syrian, the brother of Rivkah, Jacob and Esau's mother. And Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob, and sent him away to Padan Aram, to take him a wife from thence. And that as he blessed him, he gave him charge, saying, thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. And that Jacob obeyed his father and his mother, and was gone to Padan Aram. And Esau seeing that the daughters of Canaan pleased not Isaac his father, then went Esau unto Ishmael his uncle, and took unto the wives, and took unto the wives which he had Mahalat, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebaioth, to be his wife. So now when he saw, he got sense, but it was too late. He saw that the part of the problem he had was that he had married Canaanite daughters. Now he realized, although he had been told, that this was not pleasing to his father. So he thought he would change his father's mind back to him if he also went and took a wife from a familiar clan, which was his uncle's daughter, Ishmael. And so, who was from Hagar. And he thought that would change his father's heart. And although it did please his father, it didn't change it enough to make his father be able to revert to that blessing. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
So, we praise the Most High God for the reading of his word. They go to and fro throughout the universe, and hew down the towers of lawlessness, and demolish the walls of wickedness, until it returns thus to his maker who is true. Amen. So any questions on the lesson? Any questions on anything that we read? Let it flow. Stop. You're missing